think that's how he is most days. So yeah, I would expect that to be the case.
What sort of challenge do you see in this Predators team?
Well, first of all, if their best offensive people are really feeling it and have lots of confidence. They're producing at a high rate. They're very dangerous, whether it's their top forward line or, of course, Josi and what he brings. He's very unique and special defenseman in terms of what he adds offensively, as dangerous as anybody in the league in that sense. So you've got to be conscious of that. Then they play a good, hard, structured, and committed game, throughout their lineup and good goaltending. So there's definitely challenges there, and it's been a long time since we've seen them, but a great respect for what they've done through the season. And we're going to have to be ready.
How does what Yossi brings affect the game plan?
Well, it doesn't necessarily change the game plan necessarily. I mean, we're always focused on our game. We believe we, we we bring great challenges to the opponent that they've got to be conscious of at the same time. But certainly you've got to be aware when he's on the ice, and there's some little things that you've got to be aware of. Take away his space and try to keep the puck out of his hands, and you know try to clog the ice up as much as possible through the neutral zone. All those kind of things you're conscious of, but those are all things you talk about every game, no matter who you're playing. But certainly it's heightened awareness in those areas when you're playing against a player of his caliber.
Is Dermott in tonight?
He is, yeah.
What's your sense of how he's handled this season? I mean, you've talked about it before. Here's a guy who probably wanted to be pushing up for more role, and he's being pushed himself by younger guys. What's
Yeah.
your sense of how he's handled that dynamic?
I mean, I think he's handled it well in the sense that he's had a good attitude through it and all of that. And I think that he's played well at times. I think this most recent stretch that he's had, while Sandin was out for a while there, and he was playing regularly. I think that's as good as he's played all season, and he had done a really good job for us. We made the decision to get Sandy back involved, and we wanted to give Sandy Lilligren a good run there. But as you guys know, we've had basically 7 defensemen all season, and we've tried to remain committed to keeping guys involved and not have people sit for too long. So Dermott has been in that mix all season. But at the same time, that's part of why he goes back in today, is just because we think he's done a good job and he's a capable player for us of coming in and confident no matter who's in or out that those guys can do the job for us.
Now that Robertson's had a run of games here, has he met your expectations, exceeded them? How would you evaluate it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that I came into it with any sort of expectations. I mean, it's a young player, coming in. I think we lose sight of just how young he is, given that he played for us 2 seasons ago in the bubble, or I guess you might want to call it 3 seasons ago, if you would. But he's still a young guy. I actually was thinking about it when we played against Dallas, the other day. Preparing for his brother, and going through that. But you lose his brother, of course, is having a fantastic season. Has become, a game-breaking type player. But when he was Nick's age, he was still playing in the American League. So you got to keep that kind of stuff in perspective with a player like Nick. But he has done a good job for us here when he's played. He's been able to find ways to generate scoring opportunities. He's made plays. He works and competes. So in that sense, he did a good job for us, but he's still a young player that's going to continue to develop, and he's not even close to being where he's going to be when he's a full-time NHLer.
And in that game, you kind of went out of your way to put him in for opening puck drop, even though that wasn't his line. What kind of effect do you think when you make those decisions? Does the player feel rewarded when you do things like that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not something I spend a whole lot of time talking to them about. I think every player is different. I look at situations like that for a person in my role. When you have an opportunity to create a moment or some memories for your players or your fans, for that matter, I think and you can do so at a time when you have very little to no effect on the actual outcome of the game. Something as minor as that. I mean, I feel confident putting Nick on the ice for a shift outside of the regular matchup that he's going to have. I just think you gotta think about those kind of things. I think about it in that situation in particular. I'm looking at it as a guy that has a brother who played pro hockey and never got a chance to play with or against, and then also I've got 2 sons. So I think something like that. I think it's a very very easy thing to do and just makes a lot of sense in my position.
Does trade tension ever become a thing at all as it gets closer to deadline among players? Like, do you ever sense anything that's different because of that?
I think every team is different. I think there's probably a number of teams in the league that know they're losing guys and unloading guys. I think that's a different situation. I think where our team is at, I think it's overstated. I don't see any sort of tension or anxiety or even discussion about it. I think it's just our guys going about their business and focus on each day. I don't think it's a factor here at all.
You said that more of the talk is like maybe what other teams in other divisions kind of do, because those are already out. That's news, and like how that might factor like the road.
Sure. I mean, guys talk. Guys are up to speed on what's going on in the league, and they're keeping an eye on that. But like I said, I don't see it having any sort of effect on what's happening with our group.
You get Austin back having played 2 really solid games. Maybe there might be some human nature of guys relaxing a bit when you get someone that good back in the lineup. What is the sense of the group and the messaging going into this game, considering that?
Well, we haven't addressed that particularly, but the messaging for our group is just that we have to really be proud of the efforts that we've put forth here in the last couple of games, especially in getting leads against good teams and then securing those leads and playing our best defensive hockey, through the third periods of those games, and then also converting those defensive efforts into offensive opportunities. We have to enjoy that process, and we have to enjoy the fact that we committed defensively, we committed physically, and that's just got to be who we are down the stretch here. You're in the final stretch of the regular season. You're preparing yourself for the playoffs and for what's ahead. No matter who's in or out of the lineup, that should be who we are and what we look like and what we prioritize. So, with Austin coming in here today, it does change the dynamic of our team, no doubt. But who we are and what we're about should be the same no matter what. So that's the messaging, and looking forward to seeing our guys get out and do replicate the effort that we had on home ice the last couple nights here. Do it on the road.
You said you never played pro with or against your brother, right?
Correct.
Would you like to coach against him one day?
Yeah, sure. That would be neat. He's coming off a big win here. I don't know if you guys caught that, but lots of reason to celebrate out in Belfast for St. Patrick's Day. They just won the Challenge Cup out there, and they're continuing on with a great opportunity to win a season title here ahead. So they're competing for that next trophy here now.